What happens when a smuggler like me pulls two alien sisters from a storm, only to find their touch ignites a forbidden heat? The hum of my ship, the asterisk stellar drift, filled the cockpit as I, Eli Zane, guided it through the swirling chaos of a violet-streaked nebula. My hands danced across the controls, calloused from years of smuggling runs across the galaxy's forgotten edges. The storm outside raged with a fury that made the hull groan, lightning crackling like the laughter of some ancient god. I squinted through the viewport, my brown eyes catching the glint of something unusual, a flicker of movement amidst the tempest. My heart skipped a beat. Out here, in the uncharted reaches near Zarathia, anything could be a threat or a treasure. I leaned closer, my scarred jaw tightening as the shape resolved into a sleek, silver form tumbling helplessly in the storm. It wasn't a drone or a derelict ship, it was alive. A figure, humanoid yet alien, with fox-like ears and flowing white hair whipping in the wind. My breath caught. I'd heard whispers of the Zarathians, a race of ethereal beings with beauty that could unravel a man's soul, but I'd never seen one up close. The storm was tearing her apart, and instinct kicked in before reason could stop me. "Hold on," I muttered, flipping switches to engage the tractor beam. The ship shuddered as I pulled her in, the airlock hissing as it sealed around her fragile form. Stepping into the cargo bay, I found her sprawled on the floor, her silver skin glistening with rain, her emerald eyes fluttering open to meet mine. She was breathtaking, her face a perfect blend of grace and wildness, her ears twitching as she gasped for air. A second figure emerged from the shadows of the bay, another Zarathian, younger, with golden streaks in her hair and a defiant spark in her gaze. Sisters, I realized, their bond palpable even in their dazed state. "Who are you?" the elder one rasped, her voice like a melody strained by the storm. "Eli Zane," I said, crouching beside her, my voice steady despite the adrenaline surging through me. "Just a smuggler who couldn't leave you to die out there. You're safe now." Her lips curved into a faint, grateful smile, but the younger one narrowed her eyes, her hand twitching toward a hidden blade. I raised my hands, showing I meant no harm, but the tension in the air was thick. These weren't just survivors. They carried a weight, a secret I could feel in the way they looked at each other, then at me. The ship jolted as another lightning strike hit, and I stumbled, catching myself against the wall. The elder sister's hand shot out, gripping my arm with surprising strength, her touch warm against my skin. "We owe you our lives," she whispered, her eyes locking onto mine with an intensity that made my pulse race. The younger one smirked, a glint of mischief in her expression. "Don't get too comfortable, human," she teased, her voice lilting. "You've just stepped into something bigger than you know." I frowned, helping them to their feet as the storm outside raged on. "Bigger? What are you talking about?" I asked, but before she could answer, a deafening boom rocked the asterisk stellar drift. Alarms blared, and through the viewport I saw shapes, sleek, predatory ships closing in. My blood ran cold. This wasn't a random storm rescue. These sisters were being hunted, and now, by saving them, I'd painted a target on my back. The elder sister, her regal bearing unshaken despite the chaos, stepped forward. "I am Lyra, Queen of Zarathia," she said, her voice regaining its commanding tone. "This is my sister, Zara. We were fleeing an invasion. Our people are enslaved, and you may have just become our only hope." Zara's smirk faded, replaced by a look of grim determination as she drew her blade, its edge glowing with a faint red hue. "Or our doom," she added, her eyes meeting mine with a challenge. My mind raced. I was no hero, just a drifter scraping by on wits and luck, but the way Lyra's hand lingered on my arm, the way Zara's gaze held a spark of something unspoken, told me this was no ordinary rescue. The ships outside fired again, shaking the hull, and I grabbed the controls. "Hold tight," I growled, my grin returning despite the danger. "We're not going down without a fight." As I maneuvered the stellar drift into a daring, evasive roll, I couldn't shake the feeling that I'd stumbled into a secret that would change everything. My life, their fate, and maybe the galaxy itself. The battle was on, and with it, a mystery I couldn't yet grasp. Lyra's strength steadied me as I piloted, her presence a quiet anchor amidst the storm. Zara moved to the weapons console, her movements fluid and precise, barking orders with a fire that surprised me. Together, we returned fire, the ship's lasers slicing through the dark. But as the enemy ships closed in, I caught a glimpse of something in Lyra's eyes, a flicker of fear, or perhaps hope, and Zara's whispered words echoed in my mind. You've just stepped into something bigger. What that something was, I didn't know, but the weight of it pressed against my chest, urging me to fight harder, to uncover the truth hidden in this chaotic rescue. The stellar drift shuddered under the relentless barrage of enemy fire, its hull groaning like a wounded beast as I, Eli Zane, wrestled with the controls. The violet storm outside raged on, lightning illuminating the sleek, predatory ships closing in, their weapons spitting death. Lyra's hand remained firm on my arm, her silver skin warm against my own, a lifeline in the chaos. Her touch sent a strange thrill through me, a current that defied the cold metal of the cockpit. Zara, at the weapon's console, moved with a grace that was almost hypnotic, her red glowing blade flashing as she targeted the enemy, her mischievous smile now a mask of fierce concentration. The air between us thickened, charged with something more than the battle, a tension that pulsed with every shared glance. We can't outrun them forever, Zara called out, her voice cutting through the alarms, a lilting edge to it that made my pulse quicken. She turned, her silver-pink skin catching the dim light, her deeper emerald eyes locking onto mine with a heat that felt like a challenge. But maybe we don't have to run. Her words hung in the air, laced with a promise that made my breath hitch. Lyra's grip tightened, her regal presence softening as she leaned closer, her flowing white hair brushing my shoulder. There's a way, she murmured, her voice a melody that wrapped around my senses, but it requires trust and more. I swallowed hard, my focus splitting between the controls and the two women flanking me. The enemy ships loomed larger, their shadows dancing across the viewport, but my mind was elsewhere. On the way, Lyra's fingers traced a slow, deliberate path down my arm, or how Zara's lips parted slightly, her gaze lingering on me with an intensity that bordered on hunger. This wasn't just about survival anymore. The rescue had ignited something, a spark that burned brighter with every passing second. What way? I managed to ask, my voice rougher than I intended, my eyes darting between them. Lyra's smile was enigmatic, her emerald eyes glowing with the secrets that made my skin prickle. The Zarathians have a bond, she said softly, her breath warm against my ear. A ritual that links us, mind, body, and soul. It could amplify our strength, turn the tide. Zara chuckled, a sound that was both teasing and dangerous as she stepped closer, her fur-lined cloak brushing my leg. It's intimate, she whispered, her hand grazing my chest, and it starts with you, human. The word intimate lingered, heavy with implication, and I felt a flush creep up my neck, my smuggler's instincts warring with a sudden, undeniable pull toward them. The ship jolted again, a laser blast grazing the hull, and I snapped back to the controls, my heart pounding. But Lyra's hand slid to my back, steadying me, her touch igniting a heat that spread through my veins. Focus, Eli, she breathed, her voice a command wrapped in velvet. Let us guide you. Zara moved to my other side, her fingers brushing my jaw, her touch light but electric. Trust us, she purred, her eyes sparkling with a mix of mischief and desire. The enemy fire intensified, but all I could feel was the closeness of these two alien women, their presence a distraction I couldn't shake. I gritted my teeth, forcing my attention to the battle. If this ritual works, I said, my voice low, what's the catch? Lyra's gaze softened, but there was a flicker of something darker, fear, perhaps, or longing. It binds us, she admitted, her fingers tightening on my shoulder. Once begun, it cannot be undone, you'll feel us as we'll feel you. Zara's laugh was a soft, sultry sound, her hand lingering on my chest. And we'll know every thought, every desire, she added, her smile widening. Ready to share human. The words sent a shiver down my spine, a mix of dread and anticipation. The enemy ships were almost upon us, their weapons charging for a final strike, but the cockpit felt smaller, the air heavier with the scent of Lyra's floral essence and Zara's wild, earthy aroma. I could see it now. The ritual wasn't just a tactic. It was a surrender, a merging that promised power but demanded intimacy. My hands trembled on the controls, not from fear of the battle, but from the realization that I was teetering on the edge of something profound, something that could consume me as surely as the storm outside. Tell me how, I said finally, my voice a growl of resolve, my eyes meeting theirs with a fire I hadn't known I possessed. Lyra nodded, her hand sliding to my wrist, her touch a gentle command. "Close your eyes," she instructed, her voice a soothing lullaby. "Let the crystal guide us." Zara pressed closer, her breath warm against my neck as she murmured, "And don't hold back, Eli." The stellar drift rocked violently, but as I closed my eyes, the world beyond the hull faded, replaced by the heat of their presence, the promise of a bond that was as dangerous as it was irresistible. A surge of energy pulsed through me, starting from the crystal in my hand and spreading outward, linking me to Lyra and Zara in a way I couldn't comprehend. Their thoughts brushed against mine, Lyra's quiet strength, Zara's wild passion, mingling with my own defiance. The cockpit seemed to vanish, the battle a distant echo, as their emotions flooded my senses, raw and unfiltered. I felt Lyra's longing, her centuries of solitude, and Zara's yearning for freedom, all weaving into a tapestry of desire that left me breathless. The enemy fire ceased, the storm quieting, but the real storm was within us, a connection that promised to change everything if we survived the secrets it would reveal. The energy coursing through me, Eli Zane, was like a wildfire, igniting every nerve as the stellar drift steadied beneath the sudden silence of the storm. My eyes fluttered open, the crystal in my hand pulsing with a rhythm that synced with the beating of my heart, and the cockpit seemed to shimmer with an otherworldly glow. Lyra's hand still rested on my wrist, her silver skin radiating warmth, while Zara's breath lingered against my neck, her mischievous smile now tinged with a wild, almost frantic edge. The enemy ships had fallen back, their lights vanishing into the violet haze, but the true battle was just beginning, a clash not of weapons, but of souls, unfolding in the charged air between us. "What's happening?" I rasped, my voice trembling with a mix of awe and unease as the ritual's power surged. Lyra's emerald eyes met mine, her expression a storm of determination and vulnerability, her fingers tightening as if to anchor me. "The bond is awakening," she said, her voice a low, resonant hum that vibrated through my chest. "It's pulling us together, mind, spirit, everything." Zara's laugh cut through the tension, sharp and thrilling, her hand sliding from my arm to interlace her fingers with mine. "And it's about to get interesting," she teased, her gaze darting to the viewport where the storm parted, revealing a colossal, crystalline structure floating in the void. A Zarathian temple, its spires glowing with an eerie light. My breath caught as the ship lurched toward it, drawn by an invisible force. The ritual wasn't just a defense, it was a summons, a call to a place where the stakes would rise beyond imagination. "That's the Temple of Orales," Lyra whispered, her tone laced with both reverence and dread. "Our people's holiest site and the heart of our enemy's power." Zara's grip on my hand tightened, her fiery look now a mix of curiosity and fear. "They'll be waiting," she said, her voice dropping to a tense murmur. "The invaders who hunt us, they know we're here." The stellar drift docked with a shudder, and the airlock hissed open, revealing a vast chamber of shimmering crystal walls that pulsed like a living thing. My boots echoed on the floor as we stepped inside, the crystal's light casting shadows that danced across Lyra's regal form and Zara's lithe figure. But the silence was shattered by a deafening roar. A horde of insected Clithar warriors surged from the shadows, their red eyes glowing with malice, their claws glinting like razors. My heart pounded, but before I could react, Lyra raised her staff, a wave of energy rippling outward, and Zara leapt forward, her plasma blade slicing through the air with a crimson arc. The battle erupted in a blur of motion, thrilling and chaotic. I gripped the Terran crystal, its power surging through me, and swung it like a club, smashing it against a Clithar's carapace with a crack that echoed through the chamber. Lyra's energy shield flared, deflecting a barrage of claws, her movements a dance of grace and power, while Zara spun with lethal precision, her blade carving through the enemy. But as we fought, a strange sensation crept over me, their thoughts, their emotions, bleeding into mine through the bond. Lyra's quiet strength steadied my hand, Zara's wild courage fueled my strikes, and together we were unstoppable. Yet the climax came with a surprise that stopped my heart. As the last Clithar fell, the chamber trembled, and from the crystal walls emerged a towering figure. A Zarathian elder, her silver skin etched with ancient runes, her eyes blazing with fury. "You dare profane this temple with a human?" she thundered, her voice shaking the air. Lyra froze, her staff lowering, while Zara's blade faltered, her mischievous smile vanishing. The elder's gaze locked onto me, and I felt a chill, her mind probing mine, unearthing the ritual's power, the bond that tied me to Lyra and Zara. "What is this?" the elder demanded, her voice dripping with disbelief. "A human linked to our blood?" Lyra stepped forward, her regal bearing unshaken, but her eyes betrayed a flicker of panic. "He saved us," she said, her voice steady yet pleading. "The crystal chose him." Zara moved to my side, her hand finding mine again, her expression a mix of defiance and curiosity. "And he's stronger than you think," she added, her tone daring the elder to challenge us. The tension hung thick, the chamber's light pulsing as if mirroring the elder's rage. My mind raced, the bond amplifying their emotions, Lyra's fear of losing her throne, Zara's hope for a new future, mingling with my own stubborn resolve. Then a startling revelation hit me like a thunderclap. The elder wasn't just angry, she was afraid. Afraid of what this bond could mean, of the power it might unleash. "You've awakened something ancient," she hissed, her eyes narrowing. "Something that could destroy us all, or save us." The words sent a thrill through me, a mix of dread and exhilaration. The battle had been a test, but this was the true challenge, a secret buried in the temple's depths, tied to the ritual to us. Lyra's hand trembled in mine, her warmth a silent plea, while Zara's grip tightened, her fiery spirit urging me on. The elder raised her staff, and the chamber's crystals flared, casting us in a blinding light that promised answers and dangers beyond imagination. What that secret was, I didn't know, but the pull of it, the weight of their trust, drove me to stand taller, ready to face whatever came next. The blinding light from the Temple of Orales faded, leaving me, Eli Zane, blinking against the afterglow, my heart still hammering from the elder's chilling words. The crystalline chamber pulsed around us, its walls reflecting the tension that hung thick in the air. Lyra's hand trembled in mine, her silver skin glowing faintly under the strain of the elder's scrutiny, while Zara's grip on my other hand tightened, her mischievous spark flickering beneath a mask of defiance. The Zarathian elder, her rune-etched face a mask of fury and fear, loomed before us, her staff raised as if to strike, or to summon something far worse. The secret she'd hinted at, the ancient power we'd awakened, weighed on my chest like a leaden cloak, and yet, amidst the drama, a strange absurdity began to creep in. "You've bound yourselves to a human," the elder spat, her voice echoing like a thunderclap, her glowing eyes narrowing as she studied me. "This temple forbids such blasphemy." Lyra stepped forward, her regal poise unshaken despite the tremor in her voice. "He saved us, Elder Vexa," she insisted, her warm gaze flicking to me with a mixture of gratitude and something deeper. "The crystals cannot be denied." Zara snorted, her playful edge returning as she leaned closer, her fur-lined cloak brushing my leg. "And he's not half bad for a primitive," she quipped, her emerald eyes twinkling. I couldn't help but chuckle, the sound breaking the tension like a pebble in a still pond, though it earned me a sharp glare from the elder. The chamber shuddered again, and from the shadows emerged a group of Zarathian guards, their fox-like ears twitching, their armor clinking with an eerie rhythm. But what caught me off guard was the sight of a small, hovering drone, its lens zooming in on us with an awkward whir. "What the?" I started, only to be cut off as the drone projected a holographic image, a recording of me pulling Lyra and Zara from the storm, my rugged face contorted in effort, followed by a comically exaggerated slow-motion shot of me tripping over a crate as I helped them aboard. Zara burst into laughter, doubling over, while Lyra's stern expression cracked into a reluctant smile. "Eli, you're a hero with 2 left feet," Zara teased, wiping a tear from her eye. I rubbed the back of my neck, my face heating up. "Yeah, well, saving alien royalty wasn't in the smuggler's handbook," I muttered, trying to regain some dignity. The elder's glare deepened, but even she seemed momentarily thrown by the absurdity. "This is no jesting matter," she snapped, though her voice wavered as the drone looped the tripping scene again, drawing a stifled giggle from Zara. The guards shifted uncomfortably, their stoic demeanor cracking under the unexpected humor, and I seized the moment. "Look," I said, stepping forward with a grin, "if this bond's such a problem, why not test it? Let's see what this crystal can do." Lyra nodded, her hand sliding to my shoulder, her touch a steadying force amidst the awkwardness. "The ritual's power is ours to command," she said, her voice regaining its commanding tone. "But it requires unity and perhaps a little improvisation." Zara smirked, her hand finding mine again, her fingers interlacing with a boldness that made my pulse race. "Improvisation's my specialty," she purred, her gaze daring me to keep up. The elder hesitated, her staff lowering slightly, and I felt a surge of hope, until the chamber's crystals flared, casting us in a blinding light that revealed a new threat. From the temple's depths came a low, guttural growl, and the ground trembled as a massive Clithar warlord emerged, its chitinous armor gleaming, its red eyes fixed on us with predatory intent. The drama heightened instantly, the humor fading into a tense silence. Lyra's hand gripped my shoulder tighter, her warmth a stark contrast to the chill of fear creeping up my spine. Zara's blade hummed to life, her stance shifting to a fighter's crouch, but her eyes flicked to me with a mix of amusement and concern. "Guess the party's just getting started," she quipped, her voice trembling slightly with the thrill of it. I tightened my hold on the Terran crystal, its power thrumming in my palm, and faced the warlord. The elder's voice cut through the tension, sharp and commanding. "Prove your worth, human, or this temple will be your grave." The words hung like a guillotine, and I felt the weight of Lyra and Zara's trust pressing against me, their emotions bleeding through the bond. Lyra's quiet resolve, Zara's wild determination, fueling a fire in my chest. This wasn't just a battle. It was a test, a chance to unravel the secret that bound us, and the absurdity of my tripping hologram only made me more determined to turn the tables. The warlord charged, its claws slashing toward us, and I lunged forward, the crystal flaring with a blinding light. Lyra's energy shield rose, deflecting the first strike, while Zara's blade danced in a crimson arc, striking true. But as we fought, the elder's words echoed in my mind, something ancient, something that could destroy us all. What secret lay in this temple, in this bond? The question burned as brightly as the battle, and with every move, I felt closer to an answer, my heart racing with the thrill of the unknown. The crystalline chamber trembled as the Clithar warlord's massive form loomed, its claws slashing through the air. But my grip on the Terran crystal tightened, Eli Zane, its radiant light flaring in sync with the pounding of my heart. Lyra's energy shield held firm, her silver hand steady on my shoulder, while Zara's plasma blade carved a crimson arc through the enemy, her lithe figure a blur of defiance. The elder's challenge, "Prove your worth, human, or this temple will be your grave," echoed in my mind, fueling a fire that burned hotter with every passing second. The warlord roared, its attack faltering under our combined assault, but the true battle was shifting inward, drawn by the pulsing bond that tied me to Lyra and Zara, a connection that was about to deepen in ways I couldn't yet fathom. As the warlord staggered, its red eyes dimming, a strange warmth spread through me, emanating from the crystal and seeping into my veins. Lyra's touch on my shoulder grew more insistent, her fingers tracing a slow, deliberate path down my arm, her breath warm against my ear as she whispered, "The ritual demands more, Eli. It's not just strength, it's unity of spirit and closeness." Her voice was a velvet caress, stirring a heat that made my pulse race. Zara stepped closer, her fur-lined cloak brushing my thigh, her mischievous smile softening into something deeper, her hand sliding to rest against my chest. "We need to feel you," she murmured, her emerald eyes locking onto mine with an intensity that sent a shiver down my spine. "All of you." The chamber's light dimmed, the warlord's defeated form crumbling to dust, and the air thickened with an electric charge. I felt their presence more acutely now, Lyra's quiet longing, Zara's wild desire, mingling with my own racing thoughts through the bond. What do you mean?" I asked, my voice husky, my body responding to their nearness despite the battlefield around us. Lyra's hand moved to my face, her touch gentle yet commanding, turning my gaze to hers. "The ritual completes with intimacy," she said softly, her lips parting as she leaned closer, her silver skin glowing with a faint, alluring sheen. "A joining that strengthens us, body and soul." Zara's laugh was a low, sultry sound, her fingers trailing down my chest to rest over my heart. "Don't overthink it, human," she teased, her breath warm against my neck. "It's natural, our way of sealing the bond." The words hung between us, heavy with promise, and I felt a flush creep up my skin, my smuggler's instincts warring with a pull I couldn't resist. The Elder Vexa, watched with a mixture of shock and grudging curiosity, her staff lowering as the temple's crystals pulsed in rhythm with our quickening breaths. This wasn't just a fight anymore, it was a surrender to something primal, something that blurred the lines between duty and desire. I hesitated, my mind reeling, but Lyra's hand guided mine to her waist, her body pressing lightly against me, her warmth seeping through the fabric of her ceremonial robe. "Trust us," she breathed, her voice a melody that wrapped around my senses. Zara mirrored her, her armored form leaning in, her hand sliding to my back, her touch firm yet tender. The bond flared, a surge of energy that felt like a caress, drawing us closer until the space between us vanished. My hands found their places on Lyra's hip, steadying her, and on Zara's shoulder, anchoring her, and the world narrowed to the heat of their skin, the rhythm of their breaths syncing with mine. The ritual unfolded in a dance of closeness, a connection that was as much emotional as it was physical. Lyra's lips brushed my forehead, a gesture of reverence that sent a jolt through me, while Zara's fingers traced the line of my jaw, her touch igniting a spark that made my heart pound. It wasn't overt, not the crude passion of a battlefield fling, but a deep, intimate merging, our energies intertwining, our thoughts brushing against each other in a way that was both thrilling and overwhelming. I felt Lyra's centuries of solitude melt into a quiet joy, Zara's wild spirit softening into trust, and my own defiance transforming into a fierce protectiveness. The elder's voice broke through, sharp but hesitant. This is forbidden," she stammered, her eyes wide as the temple's light intensified, casting us in a golden halo. But the bond was unstoppable now, a current that pulled us deeper, our bodies pressed together in a circle of light and heat. My breath hitched as Lyra's hand slid to my chest, her touch a silent vow, and Zara's lips grazed my ear, her whisper a challenge. "You're ours now, Eli." The words were a promise, a claim that echoed through the bond, and I couldn't deny the thrill that coursed through me, even as the elder's disapproval loomed. The chamber shook, the crystals flaring brighter, and a wave of energy erupted from us, pushing the elder back. It wasn't just power, it was a declaration, a bond sealed in the heat of the moment, leaving us breathless and entwined. The temple seemed to hum with approval, its light softening, but the elder's gaze remained fixed on us, her expression a mix of awe and dread. What this intimacy had unleashed, I didn't know, but the secret it guarded was closer now, pulsing in the air like a heartbeat, drawing us toward a destiny that promised both salvation and peril. The golden halo enveloping us in the Temple of Orales began to fade, leaving me, Eli Zane, breathless, my senses still reeling from the intimate pulse of the ritual that had bound me to Lyra and Zara. The crystalline chamber hummed softly, its light casting a warm glow over Lyra's silver skin and Zara's radiant form, their hands still clasped in mine, their touches lingering like a promise etched into my soul. The elder, Vexa, stood frozen, her rune-etched face a mask of awe and dread, her staff trembling as the energy from our union rippled through the air. The secret we'd unlocked, the power that had driven back the Clithar warlord, pulsed within me, a living force that intertwined our thoughts and desires. But just as I thought we'd found a moment of respite, the temple itself seemed to shift, its walls groaning as if awakening from a long slumber. Lyra's hand tightened on mine, her emerald eyes widening with a sudden, unspoken fear. "Something's wrong," she whispered, her voice trembling despite her regal composure. Zara's grip faltered, her playful smirk vanishing as she glanced around, her plasma blade humming faintly in her other hand. The crystals lining the chamber flared, their light distorting into jagged patterns, and a low, resonant voice echoed, not from Vexa, but from the very heart of the temple. "The bond is incomplete," it intoned, a sound that vibrated through my bones, chilling and ancient. My heart skipped a beat, the warmth of our connection giving way to a creeping dread. Before I could process the words, the floor beneath us split open, revealing a chasm from which a figure rose. A spectral form, its silver skin shimmering like liquid starlight, its fox-like ears towering, and its eyes a piercing violet that seemed to pierce my soul. It was no Zarathian I'd seen before, its presence both majestic and terrifying, and as it hovered above us, I realized with a jolt that it was the true guardian of Orales, a being older than the Empire itself. "You have trespassed," it declared, its voice a symphony of rage and sorrow. "The ritual you've begun requires a sacrifice, a life to seal the bond." The air grew heavy, and I felt Lyra's hand slip from mine, her face paling as she stepped back, her regal bearing crumbling. "No," she breathed, her voice breaking. "Not him." Zara's blade clattered to the floor, her eyes wide with shock as she turned to me, her usual defiance replaced by a raw, vulnerable plea. "Eli, you can't," she started, but the Guardian's gaze silenced her, its violet eyes locking onto me with an unyielding intensity. The twist hit me like a plasma blast. The secret we'd uncovered wasn't just power, it was a price, and I was the one slated to pay it. My mind reeled, the bond amplifying their terror and my own rising panic. "A sacrifice?" I croaked, my voice rough with disbelief. "You mean me?" The Guardian's form pulsed, its light casting eerie shadows across the chamber. "The human's life force will complete the ritual," it said, its tone devoid of mercy. "Only then will Zarathia be saved from the invaders." Lyra lunged forward, her hands grasping my arms, her touch desperate. "There must be another way," she pleaded, her warmth a stark contrast to the cold dread seeping into my bones. Zara joined her, her fingers digging into my shoulder, her breath ragged. "We won't let you die," she vowed, her voice trembling with a fierceness that made my chest ache. But the Guardian's presence grew, its spectral form expanding until it filled the chamber, and I felt a pull, a draining sensation, as if my life were being siphoned through the crystal still clutched in my hand. The bond flared, a torrent of Lyra's sorrow and Zara's rage flooding my mind, and in that moment I saw it. A memory not my own, a vision of the temple's past. Zarathian queens and their chosen had stood here, their bonds sealed with blood, their sacrifices ensuring the empire's survival. The secret wasn't just power, it was a legacy of loss, and I was the next in line. The realization hit me like a freight train, a twist so profound it left me gasping. "Stop," Lyra cried, her voice rising above the Guardian's hum, her hands pressing against my chest as if to shield me. Zara's blade rematerialized in her grip, her stance protective, but the Guardian's light intensified, its pull growing stronger. I staggered, my vision blurring, but through the haze, I saw Lyra's tears and Zara's fierce determination, and something else, a flicker of hope. The bond wasn't just a chain. It was a bridge, and if I could harness it, maybe I could turn this sacrifice into something else. My resolve hardened, a grin tugging at my lips despite the danger. "If I'm going down," I muttered, my voice steadying, "I'm taking you with me, figuratively, of course." The Guardian paused, its violet eyes narrowing, and the chamber held its breath. The secret was ours to unravel, but the cost was still unclear, and the twist of fate had thrown us into a precipice where every choice could mean salvation or doom. Lyra's hands steadied me, her warmth a lifeline, while Zara's blade glowed brighter, her spirit a beacon. Whatever lay ahead, we were in it together, and that realization fueled a fire within me, ready to face the unknown with the women who'd become my unexpected allies, and perhaps something more. The crystalline chamber of the Temple of Orales pulsed with an ominous rhythm, the Guardian's violet eyes boring into me, Eli Zane, as the weight of its demand. A sacrifice to seal the bond, hung like a guillotine over my head. Lyra's hands pressed against my chest, her silver skin trembling with a mix of desperation and resolve, while Zara's grip on her plasma blade tightened, her fiery spirit flickering beneath a veil of uncertainty. The air crackled with the Guardian's power, its spectral form casting jagged shadows across the walls, and the pull on my life force grew stronger, a draining sensation that made my knees buckle. Yet, amidst the heightening drama, an awkward twist was about to unfold, laced with a humor that felt almost out of place in this dire moment. "Eli, hold on." Lyra gasped, her voice breaking as she clung to me, her long white hair spilling over my shoulder like a silken waterfall. Her touch was a lifeline, but the intimacy of it, her body pressed so close, her breath warm against my neck, sent an unexpected flush through me, clashing with the terror of the Guardian's threat. Zara noticed, her emerald eyes narrowing with a sudden glint of mischief. "Oh, look at you, human," she teased, her voice a playful lilt despite the tension. "Getting cozy with the queen while we're about to be sacrificed." Her laugh was sharp, cutting through the dread, and I couldn't help but groan, my face heating up as I tried to focus. "Zara, this isn't the time." Lyra snapped, her regal composure cracking into a flustered scowl, which only made Zara's grin widen. The Guardian's form pulsed, its voice rumbling. "The ritual demands completion, cease your folly." But the absurdity of the moment struck me. Here I was, a scruffy smuggler, caught between a queen and a princess in a life-or-death standoff, and they were bickering like siblings over my awkward embarrassment. I let out a shaky laugh, rubbing the back of my neck. "Great, now I'm the prize in a cosmic soap opera," I muttered, earning a reluctant chuckle from Zara and a withering look from Lyra. The humor faded as the Guardian raised its staff, the chamber's crystals flaring with a blinding light that forced us to shield our eyes. "The human's life is forfeit," it intoned, its pull on my energy intensifying, my vision blurring at the edges. Lyra's hands slid to my face, her touch urgent, her eyes searching mine with a desperation that made my chest ache. "We won't let this happen," she vowed, her voice trembling. Zara dropped her blade, joining Lyra, her fingers brushing my arm as she pressed herself closer, their warmth a stark contrast to the cold draining me. The awkwardness of our closeness, three bodies intertwined in a desperate huddle, only heightened the drama, a tangle of emotions I couldn't unravel. But then came the twist. The Guardian's light faltered, its form wavering as if struggling against an unseen force. "What is this resistance?" It growled, its voice cracking with confusion. I felt it too, a surge from the bond, Lyra's quiet strength and Zara's wild courage flooding into me, pushing back the drain. Lyra's lips parted in shock, her hands gripping me tighter. "The bond, it's fighting back," she whispered, her breath hitching. Zara's laugh returned, shaky but triumphant. "Looks like you're stuck with us, Eli, whether the temple likes it or not." The chamber shook, crystals shattering as the Guardian's power clashed with ours, and I stumbled, caught between their embrace and the pull of fate. The elder Vexa staggered forward, her face a mask of disbelief. "This cannot be," she muttered, her staff trembling. "The human's will, it defies the ancient law." The absurdity hit me again. Here I was, a smuggler with no noble blood, turning a sacred ritual into a tug-of-war with a cosmic entity, all while Lyra and Zara clung to me like I was their last hope. "Well," I quipped, my grin returning despite the strain, "I guess I'm just that charming." The humor broke the tension just enough for me to focus, the bond's energy surging as Lyra and Zara pressed closer, their warmth a shield against the Guardian's assault. The temple's light shifted, a golden hue replacing the violet, and I felt a strange clarity. The secret wasn't just a sacrifice but a choice, and the choice was ours to make. The drama soared, the awkward intimacy fueling our resistance, and as the Guardian's form began to fracture, I knew we were on the brink of something monumental, something that would either save us or shatter us completely. The crystalline chamber of the Temple of Orales trembled violently, its golden light washing over me, Eli Zane, as the Guardian's fractured form wavered under the surge of our defiant bond. Lyra's hands pressed against my chest, her silver skin glowing with a warmth that steadied my faltering strength, while Zara's fingers dug into my arm, her fiery spirit a beacon amid the chaos. The elder, Vexa, stood frozen, her staff trembling as the temple's energy clashed with the Guardian's fading power, and the air thrummed with a promise of resolution. The absurdity of our tangled embrace, me, a scruffy smuggler, caught between a queen and a princess in a cosmic tug-of-war, had somehow turned into a lifeline, the bond's resistance pushing back the ancient demand for sacrifice. The Guardian's violet eyes flickered, its spectral form disintegrating into shimmering motes of light, and a voice, softer now, echoed through the chamber. "The will of the bond prevails," it murmured, its tone laced with a reluctant acceptance. "The human spirit has rewritten the law." My knees nearly buckled as the draining pull on my life force ceased, replaced by a rush of vitality that flowed from Lyra and Zara, their emotions, her quiet resolve, her wild courage, merging with mine in a harmony that felt like home. Lyra's lips curved into a relieved smile, her emerald eyes glistening with unshed tears, while Zara let out a triumphant laugh, her hand slipping to squeeze mine with a warmth that made my heart swell. The temple's crystals dimmed, their light settling into a gentle glow, and the chasm in the floor sealed shut, the warlord's dust scattering into nothingness. Vexa lowered her staff, her rune-etched face softening as she regarded us, her initial fury giving way to a grudging respect. "You've defied the ancient right," she said, her voice steady but tinged with wonder. "The bond is complete not with blood but with choice. Zarathia is saved, and you, human, are its unexpected savior." The words sank in, a weight lifting from my shoulders, and I couldn't suppress a grin, the tension melting into a quiet joy. Lyra stepped back, her hands lingering on my arms as she gazed at me with a tenderness that made my breath catch. "You've given us more than we dared hope," she said softly, her voice a melody that wrapped around my soul. Zara moved to my side, her fur-lined cloak brushing against me, her mischievous smile returning as she nudged me playfully. "And you're stuck with us now, Eli," she quipped, her eyes sparkling with affection. "No escaping the royal duo." I chuckled, the sound echoing in the now peaceful chamber, my hand finding hers and Lyra's, our fingers intertwining in a circle of light. The temple's walls parted, revealing a breathtaking view of Zarathia's violet oceans and crystalline spires under the twin moons. A sight that filled me with a sense of belonging I'd never known. The bond pulsed gently, a constant reminder of our connection, and I felt their thoughts. Lyra's gratitude, Zara's excitement, mingling with my own relief and pride. The elder approached, placing a crystal medallion around my neck, its glow matching the runes of our rite. "You are one of us now," she declared, her voice carrying a quiet pride. "A hero of Zarathia." As the guards lowered their weapons, their fox-like ears twitching in approval, I looked at Lyra and Zara, their beauty and strength a testament to the journey we'd shared. The secret we'd uncovered, the power of choice over sacrifice, had not only saved an empire but forged a family from the ashes of battle. Lyra's hand squeezed mine, her warmth a silent vow, while Zara leaned in, her lips brushing my cheek in a gesture that was both playful and profound. "Welcome home, human," she whispered, her laughter a melody that blended with the temple's hum. The storm outside had passed, the enemy ships reduced to drifting wrecks, and the stellar drift stood ready to carry us forward. But for now, we stood together, bathed in the starlight that filtered through the temple's spires, a bond that transcended worlds, a story that ended not with loss, but with a promise of new beginnings. My grin widened, my heart full, as I realized that this smuggler from Earth had found his place among the stars, and with the women who had changed his destiny forever. From a stormy rescue to a bond that saved an empire, Eli Zane found his place among the stars with Lyra and Zara. The secret of the temple unveiled a new destiny, one of love, courage, and unity that defies the galaxy. But what lies beyond these moons? The journey continues. Did this epic bond steal your heart? Smash that like button if you're hooked. Subscribe and hit the bell for more HFY adventures across the cosmos. Drop a comment below. What secret would you uncover? Your support lights up our stars.